Hello, my name is Bethany Miller, and this is my book talk for LIS534. The books that we're going to talk about today are my personal favorite genre of books. They are the type of books that got me into reading as a passion when I was a preteen. We're going to talk about middle grade fantasy books. Fantasy is mostly what I still read today, and it was these types of books that made me really love reading. So I'm really excited to share with you guys some great fantasy books for middle grade. So the first book we're going to talk about is The Thief Lord by Cornelia Funke. This is a book that I actually read in middle school, and I recently reread it. This book is about two brothers, Prosper and Beau, who are on the run from their mean aunt who wants to separate the two of them. It lands them in Venice, Italy, a city of history and magic. They end up in the care of the Thief Lord and his gang of orphans. The story takes Beau and Prosper on an adventure of impossible things as they try to escape the tortoise loving private detective who's been sent by their aunt. The Thief Lord is what we call magical realism, which means it's set in the real world with small hints of magic thrown in throughout. And that's what made it one of my favorite books when I was a child. It's set in Venice, and it's easy to visualize the streets as Prosper and Beau and his friends see them. It's fun to imagine living with the Thief Lord in an abandoned theater with no rules. Overall, the book is perfect for anyone who loves to believe in the magic hidden in every corner, and also for anyone who wants a good adventure book where the little kids are smarter than the grown-ups are, as they usually are. The next book that I want to talk about is another book that holds a special place in my heart, and it's The Heir Apparent by Vivian Vande. An added tidbit, of course, is that Vivian Vande is actually a local author. She's from Rochester, New York, and the story is actually set in Rochester, New York as well, which is fun to have that local interest in it. Um, the story finds our protagonist in a not so far off future where virtual reality gaming is all the craze. When Jeannie plugs into the game at a local arcade, she expects to have a routine experience, but she doesn't quite get that. She ends up stuck in the game. The only way out is to win, and the longer she takes the win, the more chance she has of irreversible brain damage. Talk about pressure. The novel follows Jeannie in her quest to beat the game and become the heir apparent. It's a high risk fantasy novel set in modern day. This was a book that really got me into reading fantasy books as I got older. I think this is perfect for anyone who loves anything medieval because that's when the game is set, or even just video games. It's a high adventure from the very beginning to the very end of this book, and it's something I highly recommend you read. Okay, so the last book we're going to talk about, I'm absolutely sure that you've heard of because it is Percy Jackson and the Olympians, The Lightning Thief, the first book in the wildly popular Percy Jackson series. This book is about Percy Jackson, a sixth grader who just can't stay out of trouble. It's only after being kicked out of boarding school, again, that he realizes there's something more going on. It turns out Greek gods and goddesses that you learned about in school, they're real. And they've made their home in New York City, and oh yeah, one of them is Percy's dad. As if that wasn't enough to take in, turns out the gods think he stole something. And if he can't return it by the end of the summer solstice to the gods, there's going to be an all-out war with Earth as the battlefield. And only Percy and his friends can actually prevent this from happening. Sound exciting? That's because it is. You'll be flying through it just to keep up with Percy Jackson and his friends. I'd recommend this book to anyone who's interested in fantasy series with adventure. You'll be dying to pick up the second book within moments of setting down this one. As we've talked about, all these are fantasy books. They're called middle grade fantasy because they are meant for students at the end of their elementary school career or through the beginning of their high school career. They're perfect for middle schoolers. But that isn't to say that kids younger than 5th grade can't read this book or kids older than 9th grade can't read them. These are books that are good to read with your parents or just read on your own. I hope this book talk has inspired you to maybe pick up one of these titles, or if not these, then at least some fantasy books. There are a ton out there just waiting for you to explore. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you guys around. Bye.